We're here today at a park that opened April 30th and May 1st, that weekend for the season. We were actually at this park to record the opening weekend, but the weather wasn't very good that weekend and we decided it's best not to take a gimbal and a cell phone out in the rain. Turns out the following weekend it was equally as rainy here, so we also skipped a visit that weekend. But we're back again, second time in 3 weeks. And at this park, we don't have a season pass. So why would we come to a park where we don't have a season pass 2 out of 3 weeks? Because the admission is free. So come join us as we take a look at Knoebels. And yes, you do pronounce the K in Knoebels. I learned that the hard way a couple of years back. The park is located about an hour north of Hershey, Pennsylvania, so it's not too far from another great theme park. Knoebels is basically a park almost lost in time. If it wasn't for the coaster that you see behind me, I would feel like we were still 20 years in the past, and that's not really a bad thing. It's a very quaint and quirky park, as you'll see later on in the video. So I hope you enjoy. But first, take another look at Cosmo, Knoebels' mascot. He's got 2 other friends, Dexter, a raccoon, and there's also a female fox who does not have her name on her shirt, so I'm not sure of her name. But they make up the cast of characters that you will find all around this park. And it adds to the atmosphere, and it adds to the fun for kids and adults alike. In case you're interested in seeing the layout of the park, here's a look at the park map. As you can see, in the northwest are both of the wooden coasters. At the very top is Phoenix, and right below that is Twister. We'll be getting to those in a little bit. We have a lot to show you, especially with Phoenix. Oh, and for the record, 64 rides at a free admission amusement park. As you probably noticed from the intro of the video, right near the parking lot and the entrance sign is the coaster Impulse. As you can see, it's about to take off now. Impulse is a Zerer built in 2015 with a vertical lift hill, a few inversions. When I was first looking at this coaster before I'd actually ridden it, I was afraid it was going to be rough, but it turns out this coaster is buttery smooth. And it is my personal favorite in the park, despite the fact that they have 2 spectacular wooden coasters here. Let's watch this train go up this hill. Right past Impulse, as you walk down the main walkway, you come to a building known as the Loaf. As you can kind of see, it's shaped like a loaf of bread. I love the interesting architecture on this building. The building itself has 2 different places to eat in here. It has what many people would recognize from the Disney parks as a Dole Whip. Dole Whips are becoming more widespread. There's one on the opposite side of this building. And in addition to the Dole Whip, on the back side of the building, there's a place to get some really good coffee and espresso and baked goods. The Cookie Nook. And they even have a sign letting you know you can stay cool with a Dole Whip. Around this side of the building is where you get the Dole Whip. And you know that by looking at the big, smiley, soft-serve ice cream cone. If you've never seen a Dole Whip before, this is basically what it looks like. We opted for the traditional variety with the pineapple soft serve, and the Dole Whip itself is basically just pineapple soft serve. We opted to also get the Dole Float, which put the pineapple soft serve in some pineapple juice, and it's delicious. We both highly recommend you try it at least once, whether it be here or anywhere else that serves it. This isn't the only flavor they have, though. They also have strawberry flavor, a lemon flavor, and a lime flavor, but we personally prefer the pineapple. It's definitely the best flavor on their menu. Immediately past the Loaf is a restaurant that sells potato cakes. I've heard from multiple people here that the potato cakes are really good, but I've yet to try them. So we're planning on trying them today. We'll let you know how they are and we'll show you what they look like when we get them. So here's a look at the potato cakes. They look pretty standard. You can get them with a side of sour cream for an extra 75 cents, but we opted not to do that. Let's see how they taste and see if it's worth all the hype that they receive here. So what did we think of the potato cakes? Well, if this is any indication of what we thought of them, we thought they were great. They were very flavorful. They were sort of like just big hash browns, but they definitely had more flavor than just a fried bunch of potato. The only knock that we had on them was that they were a little bit greasy. They could have used some time on a drip tray. I don't know if it comes across very well on this camera, especially considering the shadow gets in the way, but there's a lot of grease at the bottom of the tray where the potato cakes were. That being said though, they were delicious and we would definitely order them again. I think they were worth the hype. Another notable restaurant here is the Alamo. As you can see out in front, there are a bunch of windows where you can order your food, but also, if you notice over in the corner, it says dining room. You go around the corner and you can actually be seated at a table, have a server, relax your feet, cool off in the air conditioning, and enjoy some good food. They actually have a fairly large menu. It's surprisingly good. We've eaten there a couple of times and it's worth checking out. Over near some bumper cars are some actual motorboats that you can ride. It's kind of similar to a classic car ride that you can drive around a track, except this is legitimately on the water and you pilot it yourself around the course. Underneath this spinning ride known as the Satellite, you can see a boat going by in the distance. So right over in this area, Knoebels used to have a ball crawl attraction for kids. They took it down recently. It was here for about 40 years or so. And now it looks like there's just some benches and trash cans. The rumor is that, well, it's actually not a rumor, it's been announced that they're putting in a ride known as Bayern Curve over here that should be opening in 2023. Which is interesting that they're choosing to put a ride like that in here, considering that Kennywood on the other side of the state just got rid of theirs recently. So it'll be interesting to see what this area looks like once it opens up. One of the fun and unusual things about this park is all the bridges over water. There's a lot of water, a lot of streams in this area. And this particular bridge right here has soldiers on either side. Let's go and give you a view of what it looks like as we cross this bridge. As we see Jen modeling her drink. Across the water over there is a train bridge. When you ride the train, you can look over, see water on both sides. Over here's a pedestrian bridge on this side. Water's flowing. And another soldier on this side. There are a lot of other fun details aside from the rides to look at here at Knoebels, including this old train car and a giant grizzly bear wooden statue. Walking away from that, there's also a little car on a track that's holding a giant log. A 220-year-old white oak. Look at this fun, classic little lion-shaped water fountain. You can tell this has been here a long time. There's also a little paper recycling bin that looks like a pig in a house. Paper goes right in his little pudgy mouth. Knoebels even has a Haunted Mansion dark ride. Unlike the one at the bigger parks in Florida and California that you may be familiar with, this one is a bit lower budget, but the lower budget feature of it leads to its charm a little bit. It's got some decorations in there that you can tell are very old, and they just jump out. It's basically a bunch of jump scares as you ride, but you can tell that they keep them up to date. They make sure that they're in good shape at all times. What's interesting about this particular ride is that on weekends in the off season and weekdays during the regular season, you can buy an all-day ride pass, so you don't have to buy individual tickets for the rides. This ride is never included in that all-day pass for some reason. It's something that they treat as a separate entity. I'm not sure why. In the distance you can see another angle of the Haunted Mansion. Next to that Haunted Mansion is a themed Dippin' Dots kiosk. They have Gator Bites here, which were apparently featured on the Food Network as it shows on this sign. We haven't seen the episode that featured them, but we'll have to keep an eye out for it. Fun little peephole through the sign. Black Diamond is a sort of hybrid dark ride slash roller coaster. If you've ever been to Dollywood, think of the ride Blazing Fury. You basically ride along, watch some show scenes. There's a couple of little tiny drops in here, which is the only reason it can really be classified as a coaster. It's a really fun ride, but it has some surprisingly scary points where there are undead miners, strobe lights, loud sounds. But at the same time, it's something that anybody of any age can ride. It's not very scary. And to continue the theming of the area, there's a little train engine that anybody can climb into and play around in. And they have information about mining over here, including a statue. Beyond the statue, Mining Museum and the Knoebels History Museum. Here's some of the quirkiness of this park. They have hand-painted signs for rides and also for the height charts. Here is Cosmo's friend Codsmo. Here's one of my favorite height charts here, using a fish for the log flume ride since it's a water ride. And then across from that, Cornelius. He's got a pat of butter on his head and he's holding the world on his finger. The park has a random Christmas shop. The Christmas Cottage. I just love the decor of the outside of the building. And as I walk right up on it, the North Pole is right here in Pennsylvania. Who would have guessed? I always thought it was farther north. But some fun architecture on this building, not to mention the little soldiers out in front. Person who counts coaster credits, this is one of the hardest credits to get. Flying turns. This is the only wooden bobsled style coaster anywhere, and it seems to never run. As you can see, it's down again today. We personally have been to this park 3 times and have never had the chance to ride it. Maybe one of these days. Around the side of the coaster, there's a little cutout area that you can walk into, where on days where it's actually running, if it's ever running, you can watch the cars go by up close. So here's a good look at the wooden bobsled track, though nothing's coming down. They told them they couldn't build it, and they probably shouldn't have done it anyway. Across from Flying Turns is Stratosphere. This is the park's drop tower. It's a relatively short drop tower. As you can see, there's the top coming down. And the ride car itself is pretty narrow. It doesn't hold very many people. But despite that, it's still a pretty fun drop tower. If you enjoy drop towers, you definitely should give it a shot when you come here. And here you have it, the star of the show here at Knoebels, the Phoenix wooden roller coaster. As you can see down below the ride sign, just last year it won the Golden Ticket Award for Best Wooden Coaster. And this isn't the first time it's received that honor either. It's received it in 2018, before that, and I believe it's received it other times prior. front of that, we'll take a closer look at this in a minute, they have a model of the actual coaster track. Here's a good look at the coaster model of the Phoenix, along with the background information about it on the wall. And even a model of the station down below. The model even includes a model of this building that we're looking at right now. Across from the building is the actual entrance with some old signage. Phoenix was originally called the Rocket in its original location, and then it became the Phoenix when it came here. Here's a view of Phoenix going up the lift hill from behind the log flume. And down they go. Better view of the train lifting up. It's a pretty quick lift hill for such an old coaster. And then right beside the coaster is Gasoline Alley. As the name would imply, this is basically just old cars that you can drive around a track like most amusement parks have. The fun thing about this particular car ride is that most of the track that you ride on is a wooden bridge, and the bridge partially goes underneath of the Phoenix roller coaster, so you get a nice up-close view of the coaster as you're driving by. Another one of the quirky features of this park are all these little houses scattered around. I don't believe that people actually live in these. I believe that they're for maintenance and whatnot, but there are several of them around here. Some of them in the distance across bridges over the water, but it's fun to see some houses on park property. It's really strange. Moving from the drop tower, we cross a street and then we cross a bridge over a stream, one of the many bridges here. And again, as I mentioned earlier, more houses. And then on the other side of this bridge, come to the other big wooden coaster in the park, Twister. Although Phoenix at this park gets all the accolades, Twister is my personal favorite coaster here. Although Phoenix is an airtime machine, and I know most coaster enthusiasts enjoy their airtime, and I don't mind it myself, but I believe myself that Phoenix is a little bit redundant with its track layout. Twister does more, and I really enjoy the way Twister turns. At one point it will go around a helix, and it makes you actually feel like you're in a Twister, and I enjoy that. A fun feature of this coaster is that although it's hard to see from this vantage point, past the tracks back there is a train track. You can ride a small train and it will go right by the tracks for Twister. So if a coaster car happens to be going by at that moment, you can watch it up close. As a matter of fact, you can hear the train coming by right now, right on cue. Let's see if we can catch it well enough to hear. Not the greatest view, but it goes right by the supports. My personal favorite flat rides at this park is the Cosmotron. It doesn't look like much from where we're standing because the whole ride is indoors, but it's essentially a Music Express style ride that goes both forwards and backwards, which is unusual for Music Express rides. And they have loud music cranked in there, they have strobe lights, other colorful lights, fog effects. Another highlight of Knoebels is their carousel. We typically don't ride carousels when we go to amusement parks because most of them are similar, but this one's kind of special. This one is 100 years old and is one of the very few remaining carousels where, as you can see over to the right, they still have rings that you can reach out and grab if you're sitting on the outside horses. From what I've read, there is a brass ring in there. Most of them are not brass, but there is a brass ring in there. And if you manage to grab it, you get a free ride on the carousel. If you don't grab the brass ring, if you grab a ring that's another type of metal, the goal is to try to get it into the lion's mouth that's just to the right of the dispenser. And as you can see, it requires you to make a full rotation around the carousel and then throw it in while the carousel is moving, so it's very difficult. I was fortunate to be able to actually get it in the lion's mouth one time, but that was out of pure luck and no skill involved whatsoever. That's a great carousel, and it's a fun challenge to try to grab the rings that are very tiny. Need a little bit of history about the Knoebels carousel. Here's a nice painting with some information, and in front of the painting there's a plaque with even more information. As you head toward the carousel in the distance, you pass underneath a classic Knoebels sign. It's lit up at night. Unfortunately, we won't be here long enough to catch it lit up, but you get a good view of it in the daytime. So that's a look at Knoebels. As you saw on the map, there were 64 rides here, so we definitely didn't show you all of them. There are a bunch of traditional amusement park style flat rides that you can find in a lot of places, and there are a bunch of kiddie rides too, so really there's something for everybody here. The whole family can find something they like, whether it be the rides, the food. Even there's a really nice arcade here too if you're into spending your time at an amusement park in an arcade. So basically we hit the major fun points like the coasters. It's a shame that the one here behind me isn't running, but maybe one day we can make it back, and maybe one day you'll make it back and get lucky and have a chance to ride it. So thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our Instagram page, which should be appearing right there right now. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, but the fun's not over yet. Click the box in front of my face for another fun video, or click my tree to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss another video.